This is a disaster. And the best part, Ubisoft 100% deserves all of it. You reap what you sow. Honestly, words cannot really explain how much of a disaster this is. My fellow chuds, my fellow evil Nazis, pat yourselves on the back because you are witnessing history. This is probably the worst game launch that we have seen in 20 years. 20 years, not, if not even more. This is a phenomenal disaster. This is Assassin's Creed Shadows in Japan, one of the most wanted games of all time history. Probably it's in the top 5 at the bare minimum. And currently it was more anticipated than GTA 6, as crazy as that sounds. Obviously, GTA 6 will break every anticipation that there is, but currently, this was the big thing. And this was Ubisoft's last chance. And it failed. It combusted. It exploded. It created a black hole around itself, and it destroyed all hope. I'll try my best to explain how absolutely bad this is, because this is unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. So I'll try my best to explain, but a lot of you don't, because it's truly a lot of you do not understand how bad this is. This is 100 times worse than Dragon Age Veilguard, even though it has less, even though it has comparable numbers. Okay, so Assassin's Creed Shadows got released at the 20th of March, 0032 UTC, whatever time zone that is. And then it peaked in the first day with a whopping 41.1k players, which is tragic, to say the least. And today now it's getting a little bit higher with 45. And again, typically when it comes to Steam and these time zones, the peak concurrent player base numbers are roughly around 17, 18, and 19 UTC, which is 6 to 8 p.m. Well, from 6 to maximum 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is where the drop-off happens, which would be 21 UTC for everyone who's American. This is where the drop-off happens, and typically when the game gets released in the first day, it can actually go to up to the next day, to 12. And yeah, it didn't happen for Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is a disaster. When I made my prediction for this game, I predicted that I think that this game is gonna flop, obviously, like everyone else. But my prediction, and the thing is, I'm usually very, very right on these predictions. I'm usually like in a 5%, 10%, maybe 15 to 20% worst case scenario, slightly off of my predictions. You know how much I predicted for Assassin's Creed Shadows, concurrent Steam players when it launches? 200k minimum. 300k max. Those were my predictions. Maybe slightly less, maybe 150 super minimum. But we are below that more than 3 times. This is 3.3 times less than 150k. This is insanity. Absolute insanity. Now, granted, looking at these numbers, look at this. This is already plateauing out, by the way. You think 45k is good? It's already plateauing out. You can see the decline. This shit is gonna end today, not probably reaching even 53k players, because the graphs are so predictable. Yesterday I thought it's extremely low, but I thought when the peak hours are gonna go, it's gonna start going like this, because that's how a lot of graphs work. But no. And you know why this is starting to plateau already? Well, because of this shit right here. You see this? You see that? Assassin's Creed Shadows is such a disaster, they are giving away free codes for people to play. Day one. Day one. Dragon Age the Veilguard waited a week until they started giving free codes. Assassin's Creed Shadows is there literally 1 hour after the launch and saying, get the fucking codes ready, because no one's playing our super slop. It is insane. It is horrible. It's unbelievable. And yes, by the way, this is what Assassin's Creed Shadows, and this is an official Ubisoft account, has said. It's not even 4 p.m. here in Canada, and Assassin's Creed Shadow has already surpassed 1 million players. Players, not sales, players. Okay? Thank you for from the bottom of our hearts joining blah blah blah. This is bad. They should have gotten 1 million players. Players total, because this thing is on Xbox, PlayStation, your fridge, your mom's vibrator. It's fucking everywhere. Your grandma has it inbuilt in her motherfucking coffin, G. And it only has players. We're talking about maybe 500k sales at this point. 500k sales for an Assassin's Creed game. Do I need to remind you that the last two fucking Assassin's Creed games sold 10 million copies and 20 million copies? And this shit has only 500k top. And considering, by the way, everything that I have learned from Veilguard or whatever, again, typical way that the typical math I do for these things to figure out how much sales a game has is you just add an extra zero here to the Steam numbers, because we're gonna ignore PlayStation and consoles, because I looked at them. Actually, I need to refresh. Let's see where Assassin's Creed Shadows is here. It went down. It went down. This is the official Xbox website, and I never even talk about consoles in general because of one simple reason. When you get the console numbers with the official numbers posted by some developers, you quickly figure out that the 10th position in consoles, be it Xbox or PlayStation, typically has between 3 and 10k players max. And you're telling me Assassin's Creed Shadows now is 10, 15, 20. The 22nd position most played game on fucking Xbox? It is insanity. Previously, I opened this page like 4 hours ago, by the way, and it was here. It was here. It was here. 15. That means that not even 3k people are playing this slop. And while the Steam numbers somehow have magically managed to go up, let's refresh again. Yeah, slightly moving up. It lost on Xbox. PlayStation's probably as bad, but I could not find any PlayStation numbers that corroborate it. It is what it is. But again, if Xbox is like this, PlayStation is going to be maybe 25% better numbers-wise based on the console sales. Maybe 33 if we're super pushing it. But in any case, this is horrible. So, that's why I never look at consoles to begin with, because the consoles are irrelevant. Everything is on Steam. Anyone who's trying to say otherwise, you're an idiot. Fuck off. No one cares about your dumbass opinion. Okay, so let's look at this to just further characterize how much of an absolute mega disaster this shit is. So, typically the formula I use to estimate sales for a game, which typically is now very correct most of the time, is I take this concurrent number and I add a 0. So, the estimated sales for this bad boy could be roughly 460,000. But this number can be skewed up to 50 fucking percent depending on crowd sentiments, fan sentiments, popularity, the hype around it, and everything. And the hype around this game existed, and then it died because everyone hated it. Which means we are looking the 50% from 200 from 460. Let's say 500k potential sales on Steam. Potential sales on Steam goes 50% both ways. That is plus 250 copies or minus 250 copies. And when a game is this polarized, and it's in the Vogue ways, it has the Vogue crown around it, and it has all of those things, Usually, when the sales are super low and bad, that means it's a negative 50% sales, up to a negative 50% sales. Because this was true for Dragon Age Railguard, and Assassin's Creed Shadows currently is effectively following the same formula Dragon Age Railguard has followed. So, on Steam, this game most likely has sold maybe 300k copies. Maybe. One of the most anticipated games ever. Definitely the most anticipated Ubisoft game ever. Maybe 300k sales. Because only super fans typically play the game when it has such a bad reputation around it. And from Dragon Age sales and numbers, we know that again, it's very easily true because Dragon Age is struggling to beat those sales numbers, which means after a month, we're maybe gonna hear that Assassin's Creed Shadows has sold 500k copies, and that is a disaster. Like Ubisoft has this a year or two from now, we're gonna be reading about some guy doing an interview with some kind of Ubisoft dev who said, "Oh, this was the most expensive Ubisoft game ever. It costed 600 million to make." I would not be surprised. Again, this was Ubisoft's last shot, and they knew it's their fucking last shot. And without that, they have nothing. It's a disaster. It's an unmitigated, unparalleled disaster. The greatest, again, this is probably the greatest disaster in 20 fucking years in gaming. It is truly astonishing. It really is. It really is to fuck up this bad, to be this absolutely this like. And Japan is also, by the way, gonna do things to Ubisoft because they don't exactly enjoy the fact that uh Nobunaga's family tree is fucking blackened now because obviously folk shit. Oh yeah, 16 generations of royalty in Japan can trace their fucking lineage back to well, what is in all honesty was just a black fucking slave of Nobunaga. 10 out of 10. 10 goddamn out of 10. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say about this. I'm gonna look at what happens tomorrow because tomorrow is Sunday, Saturday. We're gonna see how the game performs there. At this rate, if it gets 70k concurrent players, that's gonna be a fucking miracle and a half, and that would mean roughly maybe 400k sales. Because again, if it's a really good game, people are gonna buy it in hype, but they're not gonna play it. That is a huge thing that happens, and that's where the plus 50% sales estimate comes, because a lot of people buy it, but they're not playing it. They just buy it because they don't want to forget about it, and they want to play it later. If it's a normal game, then it's pretty much always just add a 0 to this number in your fucking cheeks. But yeah, I mean, it is absolute insanity, and here we can see the fucking cope. Elden Ring sold 12 million copies, but they only peaked at 1 million players. I guess they're lying too. This goes exactly into average calculations. If the game is good, again, add a 0, and then it's up to plus minus, even up to 50% in sales, depending on, how people like this game. So, again, the formula is pretty much dead on the spot. The formula that I'm using to estimate this shit just works. It has worked multiple times. Look at this. Someone's saying, best-selling game. What is the competition? A mobile game. Don't know what this is. Probably a mobile game, and no one literally cares. Wow. This is what these woke shills are gonna try and do constantly. It has this much. Oh, other games did like this. Oh, look at that. The top seller on Steam. Yeah, it's also the only game that's currently out on Steam. 10 out of 10. I mean, did Avowed actually do better? Avowed has reached almost 6 million players since launch. Again, it's just not happening. It's over. I wonder what's gonna happen to Bethesda now. I really hope they're just fucking sold for parts. Or, EA decides to buy them out or something. That would be hilarious. Again, EA should die, and I hope they try to buy this crap. Dude, literally, not even 3 hours out, and you're trying to already give away free codes for this game. Insanity. Insanity. Anyway, this was Kuzar Sedson. Bye bye, and this is what a true disaster looks like. There is no coming back from this. Ubisoft's dead.